Good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. And my child has got extra stuff in the room. Noticing this heart thing behind me. So, we've got a shorter show for you today than typical. There was a lot going on in the world, but I don't know. None of it really caught my eye as far as stuff to talk about. But we'll make do. Hello, Moto. What are you up to? You sweeping with your toy broom? Baby. Want to say hi? She's waving hello from the floor. You want to come up so I can see you? Mommy? I'm not mommy. Dada? Yeah, I'm Dada. Oh. Yeah, come on up. There you go. Okay, you want to finish sweeping? Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right. Okay, so first up, we've got... Yeah, almost got it straight. Let's do a little more trimming on this window real quick. If it lets me. There it is. Transform, edit, and we're going to crop out the rest of that window border. Let's do 130, I guess. Yeah. Just because the screen is already small enough without you guys losing it to window chrome. There we go. And I suppose we should, well, one, transition to it, and two, move it over some. Let's go here out of the dual mode, save some CPU cycles. There we go. And then let's move this window over. No? If I click on it. That's the background image. There you go. All right, so I can't shift click it. I gotta move it over one little pixel at a time. So weird. All right, and then I did not get all the window chrome. Interesting. Transform, edit. That's 130. Let's try 140. Oh, yeah. Still? All right. Window, transform, edit. Let's try 145. How's everybody doing this day, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world? There we go. 150 did the trick. I should be able to make the bottom of the window taller. Yes, there we go. So first up, there was this new electric Macan. We talked about the heads-up display that it had a couple weeks ago. It's not my cup of tea, but it's nice. It's got a big battery. It charges quickly. It's not as expensive as the competition. Let's take a look. Has a lot more buttons and the Porsche analog clock. This will be the first year that you cannot get the Macan as a combustion vehicle. So it's a step in the right direction. Macan 4 or G. Yeah, got a nice frunk. It still has, just like the Taycan, it has the option for the dual charge ports. And it's not as bad as some of the other legacy cars with just like the 747 buttons and switches everywhere. I didn't check to make sure the YouTube is getting the audio. Stand by. It's giving me a warning of some sort. It works. All right, so I mean, like I always say, having more options, electrify all the things. I mean, if you gave this to me, I'd drive it, but it's not my cup of tea that I'd go buy one. Of course, there's no accounting for taste, considering that I'm getting the Cybertruck at some point. I know they covered like the specs and stuff, but none of it stood out. So let's do this. If I was in the right window, apparently. No, no horsepower. No horsepower. Okay. No top speed. No mention of miles. Well, 2 kilometers. No mention of kilometers. Did this thing literally go on for pages and not have any specs? You got a price right there of 80,000, or under 80,000. Sorry. Um, by three. Well, that I like that way they got the rear view camera there. Hopefully, it's got a washer on it. So I don't have any specs to give you apparently. Just double checking because that seems odd. They have nothing. Camera's a little quicker. I'll fix that next time around. All right, next we've got, where is my notes? Not that one. All right, so we talked about the Porsche. Then we can talk about Volkswagen and their electric ambitions. That's email. I need my notes. Come back. Oh, the computer's mad at me. I can see the I can see the tooltips scrolling by after. That's email still. I clicked on notes. Where are my notes? There you go. All right. The notes are all intermingled with the email. So we wanted to talk about Volkswagen. Where are they at? Let's do the new Volkswagen GTE. Not quite something we would normally discuss on this show, and you'll see why in a second as soon as it loads. There we go. The new Volkswagen GTE has a bigger battery, more range, and DC fast charging. Sounds like something we'd discuss, right? Uh, Not exactly. All right, loading up. Come on. It's a good thing I didn't try to load all the stories up in a row. It would have broke. So the new Volkswagen Golf GTE plug-in, there's a hint, doubles the battery range and adds DC fast charging. But it's still a plug-in hybrid. The reason we don't typically discuss plug-in hybrids is not that I don't think that you all should use them. If that's what works for you, use it. But I think they are not the best choice for the manufacturers to be making. Mainly because most of them are not built like the Ram Recharge is going to be, where they have the full range of an EV, and then you can do the combustion to go further. Typically, they'll have anywhere from 11 to 55 EV miles, and then the rest will be combustion. And it's a little bit of have your cake and eat it too, plus all the maintenance of gas. But I want my car to be a full fat electric car. And then if I'm going to be doing a plug-in, and yes, that does cost more, but again, as the manufacturers, I think they could do better. So let's see what they did here at the Volkswagen. The other problem is it's not coming to America, according to Electrek. uh, so that might not be as bad in this case because we find that outside of America and Australia, uh, most drivers tend to do their daily driving in that circle. You won't occasionally see them just having a day full of driving. Okay, so that's out of the way. The company's been bean counters believe America is the continent of SUVs, so we probably might see one of these on stilts as a like a Rav4 Model Y situation. Da, 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 da. And that text is still just a little too small where it is for me to read it, so I'm going to read down here. Got some new glasses coming in. 10.6 kilowatt hour pack, so it's interesting because considering that my Chevy Volt had 10 points well, two Chevy Volts. The first one had a 10.2 kilowatt hour usable, something like that, and then the next one had like 10.8 kilowatt hours usable out of a 16 kilowatt hour pack. And the reason they were 16 was so they could get the full tax credit at the time. They were able to do about 40 miles if you weren't hypermiling it, and about 55 to 60 miles if you hypermiled them, which is great for all your around town driving. But my problem was always that last mile before home. They would kick in the gas engine just to warm it up, not generating any power, not doing anything useful. It's then wasting 3 tablespoons of gasoline for nothing. Because then I'd get home, turn it off, and plug it in. And that wasn't, I mean, it was more often than I'd like, but it wasn't an everyday thing because if I was just going to and from work, that 40 miles was enough. And that's about where I was in the wintertime, anywhere from 38 to 42 miles. And in the summertime, assuming I wasn't running the air conditioner because it was over 100, I'd get the 50 miles. I wasn't like hypermiling it competitively, just that which has become second nature to me. Accelerate briskly, and then ease way back on the throttle and just maintain the speed. Keep the tire pressures all the way up, and then just conserve your momentum. Try and minimize stopping. That's the basics. Might as well call it more of eco driving than hypermiling, because when I hypermile competitively, then the numbers go way up. All right, so that is the new Volkswagen plug-in, not available in America. Next, we're going to talk about IF metal again. So let's settle in. Let's see, I've got 3 IF metal stories. So let's start with the first one. All right, Tesla Sweden workers may be fine now, but not as good as they would be with a union, according to IF Metal. Eh, I'm not anti-union, but this one in particular just doesn't seem to be doing what they promise. It's more like what politicians are known for, as far as like not doing what they say. Back when I was a kid, it's like, who are you? Who's a liar? A politician? Yes, that sort of thing. And then this is what this seems like. All right, so IF Metal is claiming that. How did they put it? The banner features a cartoonish version of the meme hedgehog used by Tesla in his vehicle ordering process. Okay. Uh, yeah, it really is, and he put on a vest. Didn't catch that before. What's that I missed the focus of? Feature cartoon version of the meme. Which generally translates to thanks, it's good, though the banner appears to be Tesla employees are highlighting the idea that they do not need an agreement at all. Oh, that's clever. In a comment, JP Maria Lance, communications manager at Tesla Sweden, noted that the banner was the idea of the Tesla employees themselves, and it could be seen as a declaration of loyalty to the EV maker. She also reiterated the idea of over 90% of Tesla Sweden's employees in not participating in IF Metal's protests. And that continues to show when people do the drive-bys and try and verify for themselves outside of the what you're hearing from Tesla themselves, what you're hearing from IF Metal, and especially what you're hearing from the local media. Uh, very few of them seem intent on actually talking to the workers. They just take what IF Metal says, put it on the segment, and then move on. All right, so the banner is also used during the conflict in other parts of the country. The employees took the initiative. They also have similar vests. It's completely driven by the employees. The IF Metals rep says for his part, he is skeptical about the idea because the idea of the banner was the idea, or that the idea was the idea of the Swedish workers. He argues that he has different information and he did not provide further details, which continues to be the theme of this whole spat, is that IF Metal says something and we're supposed to just take it for gospel, and they give us no proof of what they're saying. And the stuff that they do say, like the hard numbers, we find out to be doesn't actually add up when we talk to the employees or when we have people go out and look. All right, so I'm still seeing some of the chrome on the edge. Let's try 90 on the left. I don't know what reset it. I wonder if it had anything to do with the Tesla Life show. It was looking weird on the other day too. 100 works. Let's do a little more off the top. There we go. We definitely don't need a little bit on the bottom. I think that'd probably be like a 5. Mm, oh, that's 5. That's 6. Okay, done. All right, so let's get into some more from actual Swedes. Translation, please give us union dues. Execs want to go to PG this year. Um, I don't think anybody's forgetting that there's two parts to this conflict. The problem is that this particular conflict isn't like anything we've seen before. The way there's more sympathy, people participating than uh, workers protected, attempting to be protected, workers interested. At least when we see our other strikes, like you see the people actually out picketing and making demands, and then the union is trying to get what they want. This is some bizarro world stuff we see here. Continuing on to the other two stories, and then we'll get on to more fun stuff. So, the leader of the organization that owns IF Metal and a couple of other unions has resigned. She is not seeking re-election, and let's see. During the Christmas holidays, I asked myself, would I really be able to work as intensively as is required for 4 more years? LO is the umbrella organization for 14 unions, and IF Metal is one of them. Among several other unions within LO, many have put in sympathy strikes against Tesla within 3 months. Was it tough to deal with Tesla? Are you giving up, Suzanne? Those are questions from Nicholas to Suzanne. Uh, I think this might be a way to save face because this particular action, uh, it hasn't gone the way that they seemed to expected it to. That they'd go on strike, and the Tesla union would, or not Tesla union, the Tesla employees would join them, and then Tesla would be forced to the bargaining table, and blah blah blah. And instead, they just looked like a very performative uh, situation here. Like they're out there and making a scene, and nobody's paying them any mind. And they did the darndest to stop both Tesla Sweden and the um, the Berlin plant, and pirates were able to succeed in getting the Berlin plant to pause for 2 weeks while theirs were seen as nothing. In fact, the IG Metal, the counterpart of them in Germany, said, "Oh no, this is immoral and probably illegal. We will not be helping you. We've got our own way to try and establish a union inside this plant." And they continued about their business. You had a lot of other Nordic countries joining in, and to what effect other than stealing a bunch of license plates? So she resigns. It, resigns isn't exactly accurate. She didn't quit. She just is not renewing her contract and not going for re-election. Says they did a good job during the pandemic. She's ashamed that so many women still find it difficult to live on their salary. What does that part have to do with Tesla? That means that you guys need to negotiate harder. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Protect your workers. Just saying. It's already clear, and in fact, the fact that she said just women, that's interesting that they didn't set up a structure that was just our members. Oh, this is the rate. Gender shouldn't even be a part of it. If you have a level 1 metal worker, it should be this. If you have a computer technician, it should be this. Isn't that the whole point of the collective bargaining? Shouldn't be if you have a male year one, they should be this. If you have a female year one, it should be this. Unless you're boosting the females to give them a like retroactive action. I don't know. Anyway, it's already clear last autumn that 3 out of 4 members of LO's board would be replaced by at LO's Congress in mid-May this year, and Susanna Gideonson, on the other hand, would run for re-election. Yes, so she was saying that she was going to rerun, and then she changed her mind recently. And that was the gist of all of this. Bye bye, Susanna. All right, so hopefully they have more effective leadership and they have more desirable outcomes for the next term. Here's the third story. Tesla's expanded in Sweden despite the strike. It's kind of hard, or kind of easy to do that when you don't actually have anybody running against you here. They've opened up a new opened a workshop in Workstra. Yeah, Workstra, I guess that's the closest I can get to it. The previous workshop had a collective agreement is put on sympathy strikes. So Tesla did what they do best and vertically integrated their business. So this one is owned by Tesla, whereas the previous one was not. So I guess you could say that is a case of a little bit of scabs going on. But if they are not your employees and they're contractors, if I had somebody I hired to do my floor and they just weren't doing the work, I would hire somebody else to do the floor unless they were my employee. Then I'd have a whole other situation to deal with. All right, so Tesla makes new investments and opens its first damage repair shop in Sweden. This is about the collision repair guy whose family had entered into the collective agreement and was complaining that his people were going on strike and that he couldn't fix Tesla cars and he'd be going out of business because Tesla was like 80% of his business. Again, Knife Metal strikes again. Oh, I did not put those two things together the first time around. All right, so we're done with Life Metal. What are we going to talk about next? We're going to talk about Australia. Let's talk about Australia. So here we go. Where is my Australia news? Yes, so this one was interesting. And why are you opening in this window? Move this to the window that people can see. That's the whole point. Here, here, close that other one. All right, there we go. Update. Uh, so yeah, this whole thing happened while we were out. So Tesla is having to temporarily pause the Model 3 deliveries in Australia due to a technical compliance issue. I think we discussed that last week. And basically what it was is there was no... Yeah, we did discuss this last week because we were talking with Patrick and he explained that it's very important when you have more than one kid to be able to put the kids wherever is most convenient for them, wherever they all fit. I see we have a message. Boba Fett says hello. Hello, good to see you. So like we talked about with Patrick, it was nice to be able to put your kids wherever you wanted to in the car. Turned out that the I'm sorry, for a second I was mixing up two seatbelt related issues with Tesla. In another area, they got a demerit for not having um, provisions for putting the baby seats in the front seat, which is a bad idea. But what happened in Australia was when they came out with the new Model 3, they didn't have a provision for mounting the latch connectors in the middle section of the rear seat. So you'd only have the two outboard positions. So you could only carry two car seats, which put them out of compliance. So they had to stop selling the car. And they are going to have to do a recall for the handful of cars that were delivered before the stop sale. It turns out that there already is the hardware there from before they redesigned the car, but the parcel shelf behind the seats underneath the window didn't have an opening for the latch connectors on the center seat, which is a weird choice. And so here we see in this tweet from Sawyer and a bunch of others that are very similar. None of them actually had any details or links. They all said, update, Tesla Australia is releasing Model 3 deliveries by this weekend, if not sooner. And obviously the solution to that would be to make the hardware that you clip the seatbelt to accessible. So I don't know if they're going to cut a hole and then ship a flap to those folks, or the folks who are under recall, or the Model 3s that were already on the boat. So it's a weird, it's a weird situation. I don't know. That would be the most economical way to do it, is to ship a template, router out the plastic, and then ship a flap, a cover, and then of course obviously fix it at Tesla Shanghai, so that way they ship with the previous solution with the cover already integrated. But it was a minor deal, but that was not a software update recall. It was a bring it into the dealer recall, and that was interesting. Speaking of that, eh, yeah, yeah. Speaking of that, let's talk about it now. Um, it was going to be elsewhere in the show, but I'm gonna do it now. Speaking of recalls for Tesla, as soon as I can find the link. So we've got a over-the-air software update recall that has already been completed, but just now it's hitting the news because they announced it. Uh, Tesla's to fix camera display with a software update. On some of the hardware for cars, the rear view camera was either slow to come on or didn't come on at all, and it was the same as all the other camera recalls that either Tesla has had or other um, manufacturers have had, where basically the response is, "Oh, until you get this fixed, turn your head and look." um, I'm not sure this was introduced with a software update, so I'm not sure if that was an overlook in QA, or if something happened after they shipped it that was just like a perfect storm that allowed this rear view camera to not turn on within the required number of seconds, or in some cases to not turn on at all. So let's take a quick look at this. Uh, Tesla informed NHTSA of an issue affecting the rear view camera display on approximately 199,575 vehicles. And again, while designating this as a recall, Tesla will fix the issue with a software update. The affected cars include 2023 models of Tesla Model S, X, and Y, as reported on January 22nd of 2024. The issue pertains to software instability that may prevent the rearview camera image from displaying in the vehicles with the company's full self-driving 4 hardware. Affected software releases are identified as 2023.44.30 through 2023.44.30.6, and also 2023.44.100. The .100 is going to be a factory build, so they shipped that way. um, as well as some other people got updated to it. This problem could potentially decrease the driver visibility during reverse maneuvers, though Tesla is proactively addressing it through a software solution. Tesla plans to rectify the issue via an over-the-air update, which will be provided free of charge, of course, as they all are, on the affected vehicles, and the company is set to notify owners of the update, expected to begin distribution by March 22nd of 2024. Tesla's going to have like 6 updates between now and then. A little weird that they pushed it all the way out like that. What I suspect is happening there is, if the next couple updates don't fix it all the way, that gives them a little wiggle room to confirm that A, we fixed it, and B, to continue to confirm that it stays fixed on subsequent updates. But in the meantime, if your car camera screen goes blank, turn your head. And I think Tesla and most others say check surroundings before using the camera, so you should have already checked around anyway. It's not as critical as some of the other recalls we've seen, both of Tesla and others. All right, so we talked about that one out of cycle. Talked about Australia. Oh, we're not done talking about Australia. That's why. Let me find something else from Australia. Yeah, we talked about that. Uh, no, that's not them. I don't think that one made the list. So I'm not seeing it. And that's fine. All right, so we talked enough about Australia. Let's say that. And let's talk about Fisker now. Let's find Fisker in this list. More recall stuff. So this goes in perfectly then. So the Fisker Ocean had an over-the-air software update recall as well. The Fisker Ocean issue that prompted the NHTSA probe was fixed with an OTA update. This is what we like to see, because what is less convenient than having to schedule time off of your day to go deal with your car? When you could get home, push update, and go to bed. Or in the case of Tesla's, like in a couple of years now, you can go on your phone, push update, and go to bed. It's modern solutions for modern problems, or a modern solution for age-old problems. Either way, the California-based EV startup has issued a software update in December, or did issue the software update in December of 2023. And oh, I did not make this text large enough yet. I would change it right now, but it might just be me. So I'm going to look down here again. Fisker makes the ocean. They prompted the NHTSA to open a preliminary investigation um, after it received several complaints alleging the battery-powered crossover could display potential loss of braking when it hit low traction surfaces. Yeah, that sounds like what my Prius and Volts did. Sometimes the Tesla will do it, but Tesla does it way less than the others. Like where you hit a patch of ice or a pothole, and then you have a loss in. Well, the car perceives a loss in traction, so it lets go of the regen, and then you just have the physical brakes. I'm wondering if perhaps they had the same thing go on where they let go of the regen, or more dangerously, if they let go of the brakes, or they did a ABS event where it wasn't required, and then that got them out of spec. Let's see. According to official document published by the automaker on their website, the potential problems that led to the HTSA's evaluation are fixed with a software update that was issued last month. The Fisker Ocean brake problem uses both friction braking and regenerative braking. In December of 2023, Fisker responded to the customer feedback and issued over-the-air update version 1.10 to the regenerative system that improved customer experience when traveling over bumps and uneven surfaces, such as resolving the issue. The Fisker Ocean brake system meets or exceeds U.S. and international performance requirements. So that is exactly that makes sense, and it's fine for a new car maker to make these mistakes. Although, if they were driving other people's plugins before making this, uh, you would think that'd be something they would have avoided. But it is what it is, and I would much rather. Let's kind of come up with an analogy of it. So on a windmill, a wind turbine generator, uh, if it spins too fast because the wind starts blowing too strong, uh, you actually have to turn on the brakes or lock out the blades, because if you go out of the spec of the blades or the gearing or the hub or any other pieces of that system, they'll blow apart, and that's far more dangerous than just putting the brakes on, locking it out, put a park ball in there, and then waiting out the windstorm, and then re-engaging when you're back in spec. Uh, so the regen on the car is kind of similar. It doesn't blow the thing to smithereens, but if you get it going to the point where it's able to make more energy than it's designed to handle, you could burn stuff out. Also, if it were reading things correctly and it really was a case of low traction, uh, if what the car thought was happening was real, you're sliding on ice and it's pulling out too much regen. That's like slamming on the brakes on the ice. And so that could introduce a spin, a skid, or another out of control situation. So you've got two situations you're trying to avoid there. One, you're trying to avoid overloading your system, and two, you're trying to avoid making the driver lose control of the vehicle. And so these brief spikes of just a change in what the car perceives is going on, caused by a pothole, speed bump, other weirdness in the terrain, or actual ice, but just a little bit of it. It's doing the right thing, but it's not doing it in a controlled, predictable fashion. Uh, you would see it described on the old Prius forums and the old Volt forums. You would see people say, "Oh my goodness, when I approach a stoplight and it's a pothole, all of a sudden the brakes don't work as good." The brakes are the physical brakes are still there doing their thing, but what you experienced was a complete cutout of regen, and so it felt like a surge forward in speed because your reduction in speed is no longer as great as it was, because now instead of having two braking systems going, you only have the one. So it sounds like this recall just made this feel more natural and more normal, which I'm sure the owners appreciate. According to HACSA, it received 9 complaints about the braking performance in the Fisker Ocean SUV. The complaints allege that partial loss of braking can occur over low traction surfaces without alerting the driver. Oh, well, that's different. So the Prius would flash something on the screen, and the Volt would say low traction, regen eliminated. uh, you really should tell the driver what they think is a surge is really just lack of regen. And so it sounds like they may have just added a message to resolve it, resulting in longer stopping distances. One complaint alleged that a crash and injury. Oh, yeah. You don't typically see this as an answer, like with these recalls. It's is that they'll say, "Oh, no damage is reported," but this one is a crash and an injury. Not so good. The issue seemed to lie with the so-called blended braking function, which combines the friction braking systems with the regenerative braking feature. About 4,000 cars out of a total of 4,700 Ocean SUVs that were delivered last year are linked to the braking issue. All right. Well, it's more predictable. Let's see what the comments have to say about this. I wonder if anybody else had that past experience as I did. Mm, that one's not relevant. Circus Pearl and Alaska production get going. Da, 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 da. If you're trying to slow down and it's still going too fast, press the brake pedal harder. That's exactly what all of us did in those older cars as well. Unlike some EVs, the Ocean has blended braking, where both regen and friction braking are controlled by the brake pedal. The 2004 Prius, so somebody else did make the same connection. Also had blended, has so he still has the car, has blended braking. My 04 is long gone. With the Prius, people complain that a momentary reduction of braking can be felt if you go over a bump when the car is switching from regen to friction braking. It happens rarely, and you just press the pedal harder. That's exactly my solution every time. Recall. I never had the issue since my car was delivered with the software update already installed. So same thing uh, as we see with Tesla. Like, hey, the recall is you did it 2 months ago, but here's the recall. I've never had this issue since my car was delivered with the update. Tesla had brake system updates like this too, and I remember getting one on my Model 3. Yeah, the Model 3 one wasn't this though. They just improved the stopping distance overall with Model 3 because Tesla doesn't do blended braking. Anything you do with the pedal is all friction braking. What Tesla did when they cut out the regen uh, was the same as the others, but it wasn't because of blending. And so you would just push the pedal harder. And it was even more rare, like I said, on the Tesla. I don't even think I've seen it in the last 3 years, but I do recall on my Model S. I don't know if it's happened on my Model X. I do recall on my Model S, which was a four-wheel all-wheel drive. It did it. Mainly because I avoid running into potholes when I'm stopping or bumps, but sometimes it just cannot be avoided, especially if somebody decides to cut you off. Ooh, more comments. Let's not. All right, let's continue on with got your OTA. Let's talk about electric construction equipment, mining equipment. Now I just need to find the link. Come on, computer. I closed like 20 tabs on you. You should be happy. All right. Golf, Australia. Oh yeah, I didn't even talk about that. Well, we'll talk about that next. Next? We'll talk about it. Got more VW here. Let's talk about this before we talk about the excavator. So Volkswagen says by 2020, most 2023 and 2024 ID4s will get the full 7,500 tax credit. Basically, what happened there was they made some changes with their suppliers, and now they qualify. See, that was easy. Now let's talk about the excavator, and that's why there was another VW story. So these two extra tabs. So Liebherr converted this massive mining excavator to electric power. My favorite part is this long electrical lead coming off of it. But when you're working in a controlled environment, which is cheaper, a long electrical cord or tons and tons of batteries? I don't blame them for choosing that solution. Just make sure you don't run over your own cord. It obviously wouldn't work for a highway car, but works perfectly here. For the first time in the company's 40-year history, Liebherr have converted one of their R9400 excavators to from conventional diesel to an electric powertrain. The repowered machine was commissioned by Fortescue's Crispus Creek mine in Western Australia. That's where the other Australia came from. Okay. But what's more significant is that the conversion is done during the standard service life of the machine. And this is what I keep saying: electrify all the things. You don't have to believe in doing the right thing environmentally if you believe in your own wallet. Because what's going to happen is you're going to find that electrifying combustion things generally works out to be more cost effective, unless you're in a place where electricity is just off the wall. But even then, if you make your own electricity with solar, wind, or whatever, then your costs fall even faster. And here it was proven that you could do it during the service life of a vehicle. You don't have to replace it with an EV, and you don't have to wait till an overhaul. I mean, there probably was an overhaul, but you don't have to wait till like, all right, we got to send it off to do this. You can do it as the course of maintenance. The modular design of the Liebherr equipment makes it possible to repower existing diesel excavators to new zero-emission configurations, such as electric powertrains, explains Oliver Weiss, the Executive Vice President of R&D and Engineering and Manufacturing for Liebherr Mining. This means that the diesel equipment customers buy today is also future-proofed for many years to come. The fact that we can ease the transition from traditional to decarbonized mining fleets for our customers is one of the strategies of the Liebherr Zero Emissions Mining Program. Isn't that cool? Liebherr partnered with mining clients Fortescue to execute the repower, with engineers from both companies working to ensure that the new electric excavator would be to the everyday challenges of mining. The upgrades themselves, meanwhile, were carried out at the Liebherr Australia Perth plant in Western Australia. There it is. All right, let's see what Electric thinks about this. Well, converting gas and diesel fueled cars to electric at scale is a concept that's fraught with problems. Far too many to list here. But heavy equipment, they're already kind of one off anyway. Uh, Everything from excavators to loaders to heavy trucks are built to be powertrain agnostic, and manufacturers will often offer the same basic vehicle with Cummins, Detroit Diesel, or Volvo power. So there's a degree of openness baked into those systems already. Liebherr's just taking that project to the next level by installing an electric drive motor in place of the ICE. And if the project is successful, it could be the first of many. Neato. Oh, this is kind of cool. So LG has now got a. I didn't even think to. I saw this. I didn't even think this is up our alley. Has got a competitor to the GE Profile Ultrafast. That's the one we have is the GE Profile Ultrafast because it's a heat pump dryer and washer combo. because my wife and I, we love the ability to just, we'll talk about it in a second. We love the ability to just put in some dirty clothes and leave, or put in some dirty clothes and go to bed. And then when we come back or wake up, there's fresh dry clothes ready to go. Kia 86 GT spotted with aggressive design. Caterpillar shows off its first ever underground electric mining truck. It might be Caterpillar's first, but it's not the first ever underground electric mining truck. Because when you think about the coal mines, you always want an electric mining truck because less chance of endangering your employees, and there's less sparks going off, assuming that you didn't use a a brush drive to ignite the coal dust. Fortescue are spending $6 billion to eliminate their fossil fuel usage by 2030 and reduce costs in the process. They say they have no faith in carbon offsets, essentially calling it fiction. So they'll be converting and replacing large power stations and machines like this, 35% of energy use, and the trains and haul packs we've seen, as well as thousands of sundry vehicle types over that time frame. Well, there we go. Putting their money where their mouth is. They made a start on required solar arrays, and their grid is already extensive. I'd say they've been in the market for hundreds, if not thousands, of BEV utes, if anyone knows of a suitable one. Yeah, utes being pickup trucks. A lot of people pointing out the obvious. It pays. Okay, so let's talk about this washing machine. So we have the one on the left. The reason it's so much taller than typical washing machine is uh, there's a condenser and a radiator right here on this side. Oh, you can't see where my mouse is. Uh, uh, and I'm in a window, so I couldn't even point to it. I guess I could do this. I put it right next to me. So right here, on the opposite side, so on the right-hand side of this module on top, is a condenser, radiator, and the rest of the heat pump. And it runs on 110, so we don't even need 240. And it doesn't use a vent, so I was able to cap off my dryer vent. And so LG is coming out with their own. LG did have a heat pump washer dryer unit. It was the stacker, and it was hella expensive. It was like $4,000 or $5,000, and it was basically two of these on top of each other. And you'd have to take the clothes from the washer, put them up in the dryer. Uh, the beauty of theirs was that the dryer was still 240, so you could have a bigger heat pump, and the dryer was I mean not that mine is small, but the dryer was still that large 2 king comforter size rather than my 1 king comforter size. But I don't have a king bed, so it's not really an issue. Over the past few months, a new type of washer dryer combo has emerged on the scenes in North America. And yes, Europe and Asia have had it for a while, but what we have found is that your guys' heat pump dryers are smaller than ours. So the GE was the first normal size one, and the LG was one of the few on the market that was the larger size. But my thing with the combo is if it fit in the washer, then I don't have to worry if it fits in the dryer because it's the same unit. All right, so these new combo units from GE, the ultra fast profile ultra fast, and now the LG wash combo, which was introduced at CES, are now on the market. This guy's had the GE for 2 weeks, and the LG is on the way for testing. Oh, nice. I can't afford to buy another washing machine dryer to test them out like that, but it's kind of cool. I don't have the space for it either. I mean, I did have a washer and dryer side by side, but that space has been used for other purposes now. Can't get it back. For now, I want to tell you about all the ways both of these things are amazing, and the energy savings is just the tip of the iceberg. Yes, that was the biggest part for me, was the energy savings. I can now run on, what is it, maybe 1 or 2 kilowatt hours. It's amazing. The electric clothes dryer that I use used to it actually burn the same as my Chevy Volt. You could actually watch it double if I had the two of them going. It didn't hold a candle to the Model X at 72 amps, but the Model S, I never did install the dual chargers to get it to 80 amps, so it was only at 40. And so you can see, all right, that one's the car, and that one's the dryer. All right, so you got energy efficiency, saving 240 outlet. Okay, so that's kind of cool that they're both 120 volts. Is that true? He says GE. Okay, so both the LG and the GE only require 120, which is different than the old LG. And I'm wondering if the tower used the 240 for a more powerful heat pump, or if they just used the 240 to make sure that you didn't overload a 15 amp circuit with a 20 amp load. Uh, if you want to install two of the GEs, they make sure that you use two separate circuits. Or what they would prefer and recommend you do is, assuming that you already or have a two set and one is a 240. What they say is they want you to get a 240 splitter, so you get the 120 off L1 and the 120 off L2 at 40 amps, 30 amps, to make sure that you don't overload the circuits. So I'm wondering if that case is, since they had two drums running, it's the same thing as perhaps having two of the GEs, and so they were just forcing you to make sure that you use the separate circuit for the dryer. I didn't actually check on the fuel consumption head to head because I was only checking availability of the two, and of course the price of the LG combined with it always being out of stock, the LG tower I'm talking, made it so that we went for the GE as soon as it became available. We went for the GE as soon as it became available. Freed up 240 volt space in the breaker box is perfect timing for those people replacing their pollution speed. Oh yeah, that's true. You can use that 240 now for your EVSE for your car charger. Expense. Upgrade your electrical box for 2,000 to 2,500, which is the price of a washer dryer upgrade. And one thing I say about the GE is it's always been on sale since it came out. Like I haven't been able to find a week where it was at MSRP, and the sale has varied. I don't know if the LG did the same way. People who currently have washer and dryer in the garage, you can imagine removing the dryer, replacing with the washer combo, plugging in the car and to the now unused outlet, and maybe a foldable e-bike fits into the newfound space. I know what's there now, but I don't know ultimately what ended up taking up the space. I just know that we can't do enough Tetris to put it back the way it was. For new homes, fewer 240 breakers and outlets and wire runs saves cost and complexity. Yeah, because copper is not free. No need for ductwork or air pumps. That saves space. And also, my favorite part about not having ducts, aside from the reduced chance of burning your house down with lint, is you're now no longer taking, assuming that your washer and dryer are inside the house, you're no longer taking conditioned air, heated or cooled, and then throwing it outside through the chimney. Because they're unvented, they do take some heat out of the space, but then since it's unvented, it ends up at a net uh, because it didn't throw it out of the house. Why are we talking about washer and dryers? Because they fit in line with the greenness and the solar power and all that, and they don't use that much water either. No longer having to move close to the washer dryer, like I said earlier in the preview, that was a game changer for us. And I just talked about the ventless. They say gentler on clothes. To my touch, they feel just as hot as a regular dryer, but you never end up with that like burnt clothes smell. But I guess if I were to aim a thermometer at the clothes, it would be lower. And then, of course, not cooking your clothes as much means that they last longer. Quieter running is definitely true. Like you can hear the fan on it if you open the doors to the room that they're in or that it is in, but it's nothing like having two of them running. The gas dryer we had at the apartment up in Virginia. Let's see. Long-term savings, yeah, because 1 kilowatt hour is next to nothing. That's for the whole cycle, not just for drying. Easier to take advantage of time of use rates, yeah, because they're both Wi-Fi and smart app, and you can tell them when to go and when not to go. The IRA, federal, state, and local rebates. Didn't recognize that. So you get up to $840 in federal money. Might be available soon. In Vermont, there's another $400 available. Nice. Right there, I've cut the initial upfront price in half before I start saving money on my energy bills. So with tax season coming up, I'll need to check and see if mine counted for anything. And this is something else that we like about this particular one that the tower didn't offer, and it sounds like that the other LG will offer. You can just pour in a month of detergent, and if you use fabric softener, you can pour in a month of that. And then the filters on these things are huge. So if you forget to clean it out one day, no big deal. I still like to clean it out because it allows more efficient running. But I think every 6 to 8 loads, it's like, hey, you should probably clean the filter now. And then they've got another, in addition to the large regular filter, they've got another foam filter. And the reason for all this is to keep lint out of the coils. You don't want to replace that heat pump early if you don't have to. All right, let's see downsides. It does take a little longer, but again, we weren't sitting there babysitting the washing and dryer, so the extra 15 to 45 minutes doesn't matter to us. Plus, even if we were there watching it to do the switch, we were not. They would sit there for like 30 minutes or so. So now, if you use dryer sheets, the most it'll wait for you to do that is 5 minutes, and then it'll go on to the drying cycle. Unless you tell it wash only, and then come back, put the sheet in, tell it dry only. But that takes even longer if you're a 30-minute person or more. The average is 30 minutes of clothes sitting for America, according to, I believe that was GE, or it might have been like some like wash council. So that was pretty cool. That not only do they not have the downtime, they also don't have the case of us forgetting and then having to rerun the washing machine to get the funky smell back out of the clothes that have been sitting overnight for an extra day, depending on what the case was. Um, but if you fill them to the brim, they will take every bit of that 2 hours, if not more. And let's see. Oh, yeah, if you do happen to catch it right when it finishes drying, the clothes will feel damp to the touch. So what you gotta do is go shake them out like that, and after one good flap, when you go to touch them, like magically, all the wet feel is gone. But again, if you run it the way that we do, and you just come back later, uh, you take them out, they will be dry. Uh, I have found lately, this didn't happen at first when we got it. Sometimes a sock will end up in the window on there's a gasket and then the window, and so you'll have one sock that's still very damp. It's not wet, like if you squeeze it, you won't get any water out, but it's damp. So what I'll do for those, I'll either if I plan to do some more clothes, I'll just pop it back in again. Uh, if I don't, then I'll just like hang them over something so they'll just air dry in a couple of minutes. Uh, why do I rewash them? Because sometimes they have it in there long enough that they might have a smell to them. But if I catch them, like, say I ran the clothes on the way out in the morning, and then we get back in the afternoon, then I'll hang it up because it won't have a smell like that. Uh, the heat pump doesn't offer quite as hot of resistance. How does a resistance dryer? Doesn't have the same ability to sterilize clothing the same way. They've got a Sani function on mine. I don't know what the difference is. Yeah, you definitely can't do a lot of back to back unless you get 2 units and 2 units of the GE. Ooh, even with the specials, that gets pricey. And they're heavy. Yeah, you got a heat pump in them. Of course they're heavy. The GE is north of 300 pounds and require multiple people to get it upstairs. I mean, it's heavier than what it replaces, but the folks who delivered mine, they didn't seem bothered by it at all, and they instead of parking in front of the house because somebody was blocking them, they parked all the way down the street, and then they carried it across, and then took it in and put it down. But we don't have stairs here, so that could make a difference right there, having to go vertical versus just translating. And it's not fun to jump in a pile of 99% dry, lukewarm clothing. Yeah, again, if you get them right after they finish, you gotta do the flap flap. Fight. All right, so 53 and 53. They should be the same width, right? 27 and 28. The depth of 33. Let's not even say the depth. I could go out and measure it, but I don't care that much. I would like to see more about this, but I just found out that there was a video on it. Lived in Europe 17 years ago. We had separate washer and dryer units, but the dryer was still a heat pump. We had to hump the water bottle upstairs. Oh, that's the other cool thing about it being a washing machine is that it already has a drain, so you don't have to drain the heat pump bottle. And yes, the clothes were hot and crisp condition you get from thermal dryers, but the clothes look better longer. No fading or worn looks. Yeah, I guess I will say that. Like, it does feel as hot to me, but it does not feel crunchy like I've burnt the clothes. And a bunch of reviews on it. Alright, so I will save this so I can come back and watch the one on the LG. And we were talking before that, we were talking about. I don't remember what we were talking about. But let's talk about Caterpillar for a second. We were talking about the mining rig. Caterpillar shows off its first ever electric mining truck. Interesting, they've got paint on the ground. I guess that was for the photo op. Or that's where it normally parks. I don't know. Maybe just for the photo op. OEM level collaborations. The AD45 underground hauler. Cool. The R1700XE battery electric loader truck. This just must be new to Cat because didn't we talk a couple years ago about a mining rig that did its own battery swaps? Like it had like capacitors or something, so it could do the battery swap without having to have extra equipment. But like I say, electrify all the things. It's cool. Next up, let's talk about. Talked about the camera. Let's do this. Why not? Tesla announces $500 million Dojo supercomputer coming to New York. And it wasn't clear on my reading at the time whether this was coming to Giga Buffalo or just Buffalo. Oh yeah, it is for sure Giga Buffalo now. Giga Buffalo in New York. And so what Dojo is the Tesla AI computer designed with the Tesla chips, which is cool, versus the NVIDIA chips. The Tesla Semi is the world's only electric freight truck capable of driving more than 1,000 miles a day at the moment. Pepsi basically just said last week that they did it. I haven't seen this trailer yet. And I haven't seen this wrap yet, so I'm wondering if this is a rendering or if this is a later delivery of the vehicle. Because the ones I've seen had the Pepsi branding on the truck and the Frito-Lay branding on the truck. A recent video release from CNN is noted that Tesla Semi performed at its best work at the Pepsi CNN interviewed the director of fleet transformation on Alameda Drive, who said the company would acquire the trucks in 2022. They have 21 trucks, each is capable of traveling 500 miles on a single charge. I thought they had some 300-mile trucks too. Uh, During independent testing in September, the Texas manufacturer's electric truck traveled 1,076 miles in one day. There you go. The North American Council for Freight Efficiency tested several electric trucks in September of 23. Oh, we were talking about this when it was going on. I forget the name already. I had to look it up earlier and forgot it again since then. The Run on Less campaign. There we go. And so this is the results of the Run on Less campaign. Nice. I will watch that video later though, so let's leave this open as well. All right. I was supposed to end with this story, but I've mixed them all up, so it is what it is. Yep. So I'm going to end with another story rather than this one. All right. So this is coming from the Atlanta Journal Constitution. Your Atlanta mail carrier may soon drive an electric delivery van, and you'll notice these aren't those weird duckbill looking things that we were arguing about from Oshkosh uh, when we were talking about Postmaster DeJoy and how he was obstructing the implementation of EVs. These are Ford Transit EVs, and then there are also 6 right-hand drive um, canoes that are also in there, but I don't know if they're going to Atlanta or not. So the Postal Service unveils 50 electric delivery vans and 100 chargers at the Atlanta Mail Sorting and Delivery Center. And these are not NACS, which is an interesting choice considering that this year Ford gets the adapters and next year Ford gets the native plugs on this exact vehicle. So have a mixture of chargers. Are they gonna have to train the drivers? Are they gonna have assigned parking, or will you just park and have the right adapters? Hey, baby, mommy, what? Mommy, what? Mommy sleeping? Mommy sleeping? She took a nap. You can come here with me. Crash, yes. You want to sit up there? Okay, you can sit up there. I should put some pants on. You got it. You sure you got it? Oh, don't tell me, Daddy. Looking like a plumber. All right, so um, yeah, so these are the Ford Transit EVs, and they went with I believe ChargePoint hardware, which uh, got some folks complaining about the reliability of the ChargePoint units they've seen in the wild. But I think the problem there is that unlike many other EVSEs, the ChargePoints lock their handles, and that is leads some folks who don't understand how it works or don't have an account to yank on the handles, which damages the locking mechanism. Oh yeah, it damages the locking mechanism, and I have a feeling that if you have people who are trained to use these things, they might last a little longer. Plus, they'll have a maintenance contract and everything. So, congrats to the U.S. Postal Service for finally doing what they said they were going to do. Um, and then the final story we've got for today, I'm just going to lightly touch on this because we did a very good job of it on the Tesla Life show. So this, oh, I love how it finally remembers where I was in a PDF. But this is the Tesla 2023 and Q4 and the whole 2023 fiscal year update. Got some highlights. They talked about what they did. One of the things I wanted to call out was Model Y was the best-selling model of any vehicle in the world. Pretty cool. We're a company that wasn't making so many just a couple years ago. And we got stats and figures. They didn't give any guidance for what's happening next, which is interesting. But apparently, Apple did that as well after Steve Jobs came back. She's beating on my partition for some reason. That partition keeps the server noise from getting straight into your microphone. Or my microphone that you guys are aims straight back there. Well, aims at my mouth, but all right. And then we got the same annual capacity that we saw last time. Yeah, it's calling out as is. I like to look at the pictures, so let's look at the pictures. This Model Y, calling out that it was the best-selling car in the world. The new Model 3 is available globally now. They had a record production run. Cybertruck delivery event. The Cybertruck. Quick little look in the line. And then we've got the Megapack production line. So Tesla Energy had a 4x improvement over last year, so that was pretty cool. And then the Tesla wrapping service is available, so you can see kind of the light blue they offer, and then the black on the Cybertruck, black satin, and then more numbers. Yeah, so it was pretty good. But like anytime that Tesla does an announcement, whether it's good, bad, or neutral, the stock will go down right afterwards. It's just the way it has been for a long time now. And some people are saying buy the dip. This is not financial advice. If I wasn't going towards this whole Cybertruck thing, I would buy the dip. But who knows where the bottom of the dip is? But dollar cost averaging, all that sort of thing. So anyway, for a much more in-depth analysis of the Q4 and year-end call, check out the Tesla Live show for this past Wednesday. And with that, I want to thank all of you for your time. I want to thank our channel members for their monetary support of the show. And I will catch you all next week on the flip side. Have a good night.